If you want more than the average person, you have to be willing to do things differently than the average person. Otherwise, you'll end up with what everyone else has, which is a 9-to-5 job with maybe enough money to retire and finally get your time back at 65. I wanted more for myself than that. So here are the 5 unconventional power moves that I made to go from making $70,000 a year in my 20s to becoming a millionaire and living life on my terms in my 30s. And let me tell you, it is not about working harder or doing more things. It's actually about doing less of the right things. So if you're ready to turn your 9-to-5 salary into your first million, here's how. The first power move that I made was choosing the right career. This might sound obvious, but not every career path has the potential to make you a millionaire, or at least a young millionaire. Because let's be honest, if you invest your money over 30 years in the stock market, due to compounding returns, even a teacher salary can turn into millions of dollars. But who wants to wait 30 years? When I graduated college, I was working on Wall Street. That's where I was making my $70,000 a year salary. And while it was a great corporate ladder that I could climb to progressively make more and more, at one point I had to make an honest assessment. I looked around me and my boss and manager and most of the people I was working with, they were not millionaires. And that's what got me started on my multi-year journey of looking for the right career path that not only lit me up, but would also make me a ton of money and get me to early financial freedom. So right now, I want you to do an honest assessment. Are you currently in a career path that could get you to becoming a millionaire, or do you even need to start something new altogether? I like to use my 3 circles framework. You want to find something that you love to do, something that you're good at, and something that people will pay really good money for. While I had many passions, hobbies, and things that I could potentially turn into a career, what I chose was to start an online business. Why? Because this was one career path that I knew had the potential to make me a millionaire. There are really only 2 types of career paths that could make you a millionaire. The first is getting a highly paid, in-demand job. The highest paying jobs right now didn't even exist 10 years ago. So rather than just going to law school or going to medical school because that's what your parents told you to do, stay on top of what is the cutting edge technology and where can you step in with a highly specialized skill that helps companies stay on top of cutting edge technology. Nowadays, AI engineers, prompt engineers, anything AI related is where it's at. The second type of career path is entrepreneurship. This is where you create a product or a service that solves a specific problem that people are willing to pay you to solve. According to these studies, most millionaires made their money through entrepreneurship. Once you pick that one thing, that one career path that is going to make you a millionaire, the key is to focus, go all in on it. Most people are dabblers. That is why most people live very average lives and have very average amounts of wealth. It's so much easier to have shiny object syndrome, going from one thing to another thing, because the hope of something new always feels more new, more exciting, and riding all the ups and downs of sticking to that one thing long enough for it to really pay off. So before I went all in on my one career path of starting an online business, I actually took my time. I thought about it, I tried different things, but the moment I went all in, I was all in. Power move number 2. Reorganize your entire life in service to this one thing. This one new career path, this one project that you want to get off the ground. This needs to be the most important thing in your schedule. If you pull out your calendar right now, I can bet you that most of the things in your calendar that you spend your waking hours doing is just things that maintain your current life. Working at your 9-to-5, making food, doing laundry, sleeping, hanging out with your friends, and working out. With all those things taking up most of your time just to run in place, it's gonna be impossible to start something new. It takes a ton of energy, massive amounts of energy to birth something new, to create a drastic new result in your life. So when I was trying to start my YouTube channel, start my online business, I had to get so serious about cutting out all the unnecessary activities in my life, trimming it down to just the bare essentials, systematizing everything in order to create maximum time, energy, and space to birth this new thing. First and foremost, I moved to a cheaper city. I moved from New York City to Denver, where there was a lot less distractions, a lot less comparison, because people in Denver were way more down to earth, and there wasn't as much temptation walking down Fifth Avenue to walk into stores to buy expensive things. I'd also spend my time in low cost of living places like Bali and Berlin in order to keep my expenses low, so I wouldn't have to hustle so much with freelance clients just to pay the bills. Secondly, I systematized all of my maintenance activities. Anything that I needed to do to just maintain my current life, eating, sleeping, working out, even socializing, I basically automated it. Every morning I would have the same green smoothie, same recipe every single morning. I would hang out with the same 2 friends, that was the extent of my social life, and go to the same dance class every single week for my exercise. Because the thing is, every time you have to make a decision about what to eat for breakfast, what workout to do, you use up a little bit of brain juice. So by the end of the day, you've made a million different decisions about all these different things, and you now have no more brain juice or cognitive capacity left to work on this new project or build this new career. So the more you systematize all areas of your life, the more you can give to making this new dream happen. Thirdly, decide what you will give up. You can have anything, but you can't have everything, right? So you have to be ready to disappoint people. Maybe a lot of the people that you're used to hanging out with, you're gonna have to start saying no. You don't have time that weekend. You can't have dinner or happy hour with them. It might also mean you will have less time for a certain hobby. Well, that's okay, because you can always go back to that hobby. When I was starting my business, I hunkered down, put my head down, and other than my weekly dance class, I had to put a lot of my other interests and hobbies on hold. The average person spends most of their time just running in place and trying to juggle it all, but millionaires do whatever it takes to go into mug mode just for a certain period of time. Next, stretch your tolerance for uncertainty. Here's what I mean by this. You have a 9-to-5 for a reason, right? Because it gives you financial certainty. You know that if you show up in 2 weeks, the paycheck is gonna land in your account. That's why if your paycheck is, say, $60,000 a year, your expenses are $30,000 a year, you know that a year from now, you will have exactly $30,000 more in your savings and nothing more. When your finances are so predictable, there is no uncertainty, then you are never going to become a millionaire on a 9-to-5 salary. That's why you need to add more uncertainty into your life and stretch your tolerance for risk. What I'm talking about is having the ability to invest your money. Take risks with your money. Karen and Anna make the same amount of money, except that Karen saves $500 a month for 30 years. On the other hand, Anna, instead of saving $500 a month, she invests $500 a month. Based on the historical return of the S&P 500, look at how much more money Anna ends up with over Karen. I rest my case, no one has ever gotten rich just by saving money. When I started investing, I was making investments in small dollar amounts, a couple $1,000s here and there. But for me at the time, that was a large amount of money. Now I make investments in tens of thousands or if not hundreds of thousands of dollars. In fact, in one of my rental properties, I had to put in $100,000 of my own money after a car crashed into that property. But at the same time, I'd be able to sell these rental properties for hundreds of thousands of dollars more than what I paid for them. Now, when I log into my Bitcoin account or my stock account and I see my portfolio going up and down by hundreds of thousands of dollars, I'm actually used to it. But it took stretching my nervous system gradually over time, acclimating myself to more and more uncertainty. Because when you only play the safe route and eliminate all uncertainty from your life, yes, you maybe cut out some of the downside, but you're also cutting out all of the potential upside. The same goes for starting your own business. When you work in someone else's company, they are the ones taking the risk. You aren't taking risk because you're getting a paycheck. But if the business makes a ton of profits, you're still going to get your paycheck. But the person who took all the risk, the business owner, the boss of that company, is the one who's going to get all of that upside. So think about how you can start investing. This is a great beginner video on how to get started. And think about starting your own side hustle, start your own business venture so that you can create more uncertainty/upside with your finances. And right now, as someone with a 9-to-5 salary, you get the best of both worlds. You don't have to take all the risk. You can use your 9-to-5 to fund your business adventure, the secure, stable salary, as well as all the potential uncertainty and upside of a lucrative side hustle. Bottom line is, if you know exactly what your bank account is gonna look like a year from now, you need to add more uncertainty to your life. Power move number 4, learn the language of money. If you're anything like me, you probably learned nothing about personal finance in school or from your parents. And it becomes this vicious cycle where you think, I didn't grow up around money, I don't have a lot of money, so I don't need to learn about money. But because you never learn about money, you never have enough money, or even if you temporarily come into money, that money doesn't stay in your life for very long because you never learned about money. Think of yourself as a container. What is your capacity to hold money? If you learn the language of money, become someone who can handle and be a good steward of money, because nature hates a vacuum, it's only a matter of time until the universe comes to fill that container with more money. money. Before, I was throwing around tens of thousands of dollars and used to seeing lots of zeros in my bank account. I started by being really careful and thorough with just the $10, the $100 that I had in my account. If I had $1,000 to spare, I was super careful about budgeting it, taking a portion of it and investing it to grow it, and just doing the best I could with even just a small amount, so that when I started making bigger amounts of money, I already knew what to do and trusted myself to handle it. So if you're ready to start learning the language of money and learn how to budget, save, invest, and be a good steward of money, I have a great resource for you, my financial freedom cheat sheet. This is my budgeting template, net worth tracker, debt payoff tracker, and it even has my investing 101 checklist. It's full of tools and resources to help you get savvy with money. Because hey, with great power comes great responsibility. And with great money also comes great responsibility. So download my financial freedom cheat sheet. Link is in the description. Power move number 5, get new friends. I don't mean to sound harsh because I believe in loyalty and keeping people in your life. But if you want to be a millionaire and you are not hanging out with any other millionaires, how do you expect to start thinking, acting, and doing like a millionaire? The uncomfortable truth is you really are the average of the 5 people that you hang out with most. And I would even go one step further to say your net worth will be the average of the 5 people that you hang out with most. When I was tired of just having my 9-to-5 job and such a small vision of my future, I had to really look at my social circle. As much fun as I would have with these friends, a lot of them were also just working 9-to-5 jobs and weren't even trying to create anything beyond that. Now, I never called them up to have this extreme, drastic conversation about, hey, we're no longer friends anymore. I just simply started filling my time with other types of people. And in the beginning, I didn't have access to millionaire friends. So first, what I did was just watch a lot of YouTube videos and read a lot of books and listen to podcasts of people who were millionaires, who were successful. So rather than having happy hour with my friends who would complain about their boss at their 9-to-5 job and just have sort of same old problems, instead, I would spend my time hanging out with these other people on these podcasts and videos. It's great because we live in this day and age where we have so much access to amazing people through the content that they put out. So with a lot of these old friends, because I just slowly started filling my time with other types of people, we just gently drifted away. And hey, we're still in touch. Sometimes I still talk to them. And now I have almost a whole new set of friends who are much more in line with the type of person that I want to become. You have to be ruthless about protecting your energy and curating your environment. You can't afford to have broke, negative, loser people in your inner circle. And sometimes you have to let people drift away. That's the price to pay. The question is, are you willing to pay that price? When you start leveling up, you will encounter 3 types of people. The first is naysayers. These people have such a limited vision for themselves that your bigger vision for yourself is actually threatening to their very identity. And so to protect themselves, they're going to put you down. It's like the analogy of a bucket of crabs. When you're trying to climb out of the bucket, those crabs are just gonna pull you back down so you can't leave. The second type of person is the harmless grumbler. This might be a family member, someone that you love that isn't actively putting you down, but they're not giving you a lot of positive support either. These people are mostly harmless as long as you sort of maintain energetic boundaries and limit your time with them. You can totally still have them around, maybe see them once a month. And then there's the third type, people who actively support and encourage your dreams. When I started having these goals of starting my own business, when I told a family member about it, they were more like type 1. They told me I should just get a job. But when I started hanging out in entrepreneurial circles, whenever I talked about my business goals, not a single person ever naysayed me in any way. In fact, they only poured fuel to the fire by encouraging me. Why? Because every single one of those people had also taken a risk on themselves, and they had such big visions for themselves that when I shared mine, it wasn't threatening to them. The people you hang out with will either drag you down or lift you up, so choose wisely. So let's go over the power moves. Choosing the right career, reorganizing your entire life in service to pursuing that one thing that's gonna make you a millionaire. 3rd, stretching your tolerance for uncertainty. 4, learn the language of money. And 5, curate your social circle. Just remember this, the person you are now is not gonna be the same as the person who becomes a millionaire. You have to become someone different, and you have to do things differently than the average person. It's not always easy to take the road less traveled, but one day you are gonna look back and be so glad that you chose yourself, that you bet on yourself, that you stayed in your lane and believed in a bigger future for yourself.